Hello and welcome to another episode of The Flying Reporter. Today I'm at Norvic Aero Engines and I've brought my cylinders from my PA28 Aero for them to be inspected. For those that haven't been following the saga, my Aero went in for routine inspection and a problem was discovered with the engine. The cylinders were pulled and I brought them to the Norvic Aero Engines overhaul facility to see if they can be repaired or if we need a brand new set. So I'm with Pete Dimmock, who's the cylinder line inspector and one of the supervising managers here at Norvic. And basically you are everything that's cylinders here at Norvic. And as you know, we've had some problems with these. The problems are falling compressions over several checks, metal in the filter, looks non-ferrous metal in the filter over 2 inspections. Okay. And boroscope inspection revealed pitting, ridging and corrosion inside one of the cylinders. We pulled them and they found, you see the cylinder over there, I don't know if that's number 1 or what number that is.
Cylinder number 1,
Number 1. And we've got the end plug of the piston.
Yeah, the end plug worn down there.
And we think that's where the metals come from.
I should think so,
Do you concur with that?
That's quite common, yeah.
And you've also noticed, I think, in that first cylinder, just on a look, we haven't done any sort of precise measurements or anything, you think there might be a valve problem in there as well?
I think there might be a valve problem in cylinder number 1, yeah, just by looking at the exhaust valve. It looks pretty burnt around the edge of the valve. We'll probably find out more once we drop the valve out and have a look. So, but sort of first impression is, I think that's one of the issues of
the compressions. Yeah. Your initial feeling is, am I right, that these could be overhauled?
Possibly, yeah. But we'd have to run them through the process of paint stripping and crack testing, because you never know what you find. Yeah. So I've seen worse, but I've seen better. A few issues just by looking at them is the exhaust flange. On some of them are a bit eroded and getting a bit thin. So that's another issue. You know, there's a possibility they could be cracked through here because they're getting thin. Right. You know, they may be okay, but...
And generally looking at the look of them, and we can see, you know, they look like they've been on the engine 22 years. Well, they have, in fact. What does that tell you, you know, these kind of brown markings around the...
Well, the brown markings is a bit of erosion. On a continental cylinder, under the paint in there, they got like a copper flashing. When you see like brown stains like that, you know, after blasting them, you may find that the copper flashing is compromised.
Well, I'm going to let Pete get his tools out. I think the first thing you're going to do is take the valves off.
I'm going to take the valves out, take the piston pins out, because we think we might have an issue with that one. Yeah. We'll talk about that later. Yeah.
And then hopefully by the end of today, we'll make a decision as to whether we're going to go for the overhaul of these or go for a brand new set, and we'll decide that. Right. Yeah. Okay. I'll let you get on with the work.
Right. Okay.
A quick pause to say that the Flying Reporter YouTube channel is made possible because of the support of Anglian Flight Centres, Aero Anglia, Vertigo Covers and Red Hill Aerodrome. I've also recently partnered with Poulis Flight Equipment so that you can get 5% off qualifying purchases there using the Flying Reporter discount code TFR at the checkout. Pete removes the springs, seals and valves from a couple of my cylinders. The valves are put through the blasting cabinet to clean them up so that the surfaces can be properly inspected. The bottom of the exhaust valve stems are visibly eroded and the pocketing around the rim is most likely the cause of my poor compressions. These will have to be replaced. The inlet valves are in better shape, and after being machined on the valve refacer, they're measured and found to be within tolerances, so they can be reused. But what about that piston pin that was rubbing on the cylinder and shedding metal? So Pete, you've taken out the piston pin, or gudgeon pin as I've been calling it, from the piston on the piston plug that was wearing on the side where we think the metal was coming from.
That's correct, yeah.
And what have you found?
On a visual inspection, I found we got some erosion around the pin here, which would scrap the pin anyhow. But going back to the piston pin issue, The pin on the other end has actually moved,
Right.
and it's came out of the pin. You can actually get a 7th thou feeler gauge
Right.
underneath the pin.
And that should be solidly pressed in.
That should be solidly pressed in.
Have you seen that before?
Yeah.
You've seen that bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? Even though Pete's only stripped 2 of my 6 cylinders, he thinks he's seen enough to help me make my decision. Do we overhaul them or scrap them?
The conclusion is, taking a look at the 2 cylinders that we've stripped out, we've found issues with the guides. The exhaust valve needs replacing. Exhaust flange is very thin and eroded. That will need crack testing, going through the process of crack testing, which is quite long-winded. NDT, all the cylinders. We haven't even hit on valve springs and rotator caps. The conclusion that we're coming to is, with all the parts that we need, it'd be best to go down the road of new cylinders at the end of the day.
You've done some numbers, you've looked at part costs.
Yeah.
Thinking about labour as well. Actually, it's a comparable cost. There's not much in it between brand new cylinders, so they've got all the margins in them, or overhaul these 22-year-old cylinders. And if we end up with maybe 1 or even more of them being not usable,
then
it will cost more.
Yeah, because you're going to have to buy a new one anyhow.
So where we're going with this is basically, we're going with some new cylinders, and then of course we've got, oh my God, where am I going to get new cylinders from these days? Because I don't know if you've been trying this yourself, but parts are a nightmare. Just getting the parts for these is going to take, if we were to overhaul, a couple of months at least.
At least, yeah.
New cylinders, I mean, some people are talking about 6 months or more, aren't they, for new cylinders, and mine are particularly difficult to come by. It just so happens, and I can't believe my luck, that you've got 6 boxes of brand new cylinders on your shelves here. I mean, this couldn't be, like the aviation gods are shining on me.
It was meant to happen.
It was meant to happen. I mean, that is just so rare. I mean, that just never happens, right? It turns out that one of your customers had them ordered and then they didn't want them, and I'm going to have them. So, Pete, thank you very much.
Days.
Yeah, happy days. Thank you so much for letting us see this. I mean, it's just fascinating breaking this stuff apart and seeing it and understanding it, and I'm sure you'll agree as well. And I'm going to stick those 6 cylinders in the back of my car now, and we'll go and take them off to Aero Anglia and get them fitted quick smart. Pete, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Great to meet you, and thanks for showing us around and looking at the cylinders. Thank you. If you liked it, subscribe to it and check out my website for bonus content. Until next time, fly safely, my friends.